Mic check 1 2. Mic check 1 2. Thank you.
Big brother trying to mess with my head. He whispers sweet nothing things better left unsaid. We got our ears to the ground, our eyes wide open and keen. No gaslight, shadows gonna dim our screen. Cheeks, she don't play no games.
Eli, what's up?
She calls out all their fake claims. Sloop intuition, we got that vision. No ad hominem allowed, just facts shouted loud. Sloop intuition, we got that vision. No ad hominem allowed, just facts shouted loud. Trying to twist up the truth. They feeding us lies from our child.
Make sure you guys go vote on the poll.
Patrick, he leading the way with the flashlight bright.
Christine Robbins.
Exposing the darkness and
What up?
bringing the light. Smooth intuition, we got that vision. No ad hominem allowed, just facts shouted loud. Smooth intuition, we got that vision. No ad hominem allowed, just facts shouted loud. They try to divide us with their silly schemes. Break up our squad, break up all of our dreams.
Amy Lee.
But we stick
Hey,
together, strong and true. Sleuth crew coming for you.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Sleuth Intuition channel. I'm your host, Patrick Vallejos. We are broadcasting to the world live from Phoenix, Arizona. Today, we are diving back into Abby and Libby's case. Recently, actually, a lot lately, people have been leaving me comments, sending me emails, chatting it up in the chat box, kind of asking me how I could ignore somebody like Brad Holder. And I always answer to them, he has an alibi. We can't really talk about anything relating to him and Libby without addressing the, we're going to take it to a courtroom, which it eventually must go through a trial, or at least the process, when somebody has an alibi. Nothing else matters, right? That's the only thing that's important when it comes to him. So today we're going to break it down like this. Who is he? And this will be according to ChatGPT for liability reasons. So who is Brad Holder according to ChatGPT? What makes him suspicious? Why is he on the radar to begin with? Number 3. And number 3 and 4 kind of bleed into each other. Could he have faked his alibi? If so, how? And why the hell would he go through all of that? It seems kind of stupid. Like, what would motivate him? Because you would definitely have to pre-plan something like that quite a bit. Jay Burns in the building. Don't think BH had any involvement as of right now, but certainly possible. He had an alibi, right? That's the biggest thing right there. He had an alibi. One that's more solid than the McCain's, if you ask me. Yeah, Richard Allen doesn't even have an alibi. So we're just going to step over the guy who has absolutely zero alibi. And I'm totally going to be sold on the guy that does have an alibi. Well, for me, there's only one thing to do. We have to break the alibi. But in order to do that, we have to kind of see. So this is what we're going to do. Who is Brad Holder according to Chat GPT? And then we're going to pull up Susan Case, who was his manager, who testified about the whole process using their Chrono system of clocking in and out. So we're going to read her testimony, not all of it, just the important parts. Also, we took a few snips from the CAD report, which is the incident report. So once they place the 911 call, they have a CAD number and everything that kind of falls underneath that CAD report. 911 calls, reports, radio chatter, anything that's going on about that 911 call, anything in response to that. So we have that. I've titled that one Abby's Boyfriend because I only kind of focused in on any time that Logan was brought up or Brad Holder was brought up. But there is a little part where we might get sidetracked when they mention 4 girls being seen near the Freedom Bridge. And I know a lot of people who support Richard Allen, that might be the 4 girls that they've been referring to. The 4 girls on the CAD report near the bridge at 1 p.m. So we might get sidetracked there, and I'm okay with that. We can totally go down that road, which will probably be right at the halfway point anyway. Piper's Dream, what up? Good to see you. Cheeks, Tate Nom. Not only does Richard Allen have no alibi, his alibi could be verified by his phone, which he never produced, right? Wife said, well, he did lose one to the lawnmower. That seems like a really good way to destroy a phone. And he said he was on his phone looking at stock tickers, but let's look at Brad Holder. That's why I always found it interesting when people would bring up the geofence information in defense of Richard Allen. Because at the same time, you have to ask yourself, okay, you're looking at all of these different phones or these people that have agreed to or have I think you have to have a Gmail account for a Google geofence. So you're looking at all these different Google customers or clients or whatever moving around. Where's Richard Allen? Like, why isn't his phone pinging? I think it pinged at his home sometime late in the day, actually. I think that's actually what happened. So nothing anywhere near the trails, and then later on in the day, boom, it pinged at his home. So that tells me he shut it off, or he left it at his mom's, picked it back up, and brought it home. Yep, which was never produced, and he said he was on his phone looking at stock tickers, but let's look at BH. Yeah, let's take a look at BH. And why do people continue to leave comments under every Delphi video I do saying, how can you ignore BH? I don't ignore BH. Why do all these BHs keep asking me about BH. Know what I'm saying? Fix says, I don't know if he's involved, but the way he said, I did not kill those kids in that Hulu document was one to one how stupid men gaslights a small child, eyes dramatically wide, like, I did not eat your ice cream. Jay Burns. Breaking the alibi is definitely step number one. Absolutely. I mean, is it possible? So let's see who this guy is really quick. Who is Brad Holder according to Chat GPT? She's got chills. They're multiplying. Guys down the hill is Richard, the box cutter Allen voice without any of the other evidence. Neil. Well, he's absolutely involved. There's physical evidence that proves he's involved. Whether he was at the crime scene or allowed somebody to use his firearm, he knows who that person is. And if he points them out, of course, they're going to have to ask the question, well, how do you know that? Well, it's because I was there. I helped. I participated. I used to listen to podcasts when mowing my lawn. The phone did slip from my pocket once or twice. Yeah, but the thing about a lawnmower is your phone would have to be sitting kind of like upright or on its side to get hit. Because I constantly run over things, and with my lawnmower, nothing happens, right? So it either has to be light enough to get sucked into the blade, or it has to be tall enough to actually get hit by the blade, which is up, I think, usually like 2.5 inches or something like that. So if his phone's laying flat, I just don't see how you can run it over and then it gets sucked up into the blade. all these BHs are being major BHs. I don't think his phone ever left the house. I think he made up the stock ticker as a reason for denying seeing Betsy Blair if she ever identified him. Well, I think my leading theory, or what I think might have happened, is Richard Allen and the Kleins are connected, and they were trying to establish an alibi using their phones. Now, that's extremely elaborate, but for Brad Holder to kind of do the same thing, he would need a lot of help. Like, he would actually need his own, like a second man, maybe even two different guys helping him out, or somebody inside the company who participated for whatever reason. But that, to me, that seems very far-fetched. Unless you've got an ill-maintained yard, I don't know how short they cut their grass or the terrain. I keep my grass as short as my lawnmower will go. It has like 7 different levels, and I put it down to 1. I totally believe Richard Allen is guilty, but I think there are more involved. If he's dumb enough to take the fall, then he ought to stay where he is. Well, the only reason he would take the fall is because he is involved, but maybe not the way we understand it. And I think a lot of people who support Richard Allen are picking up on the prosecution's manipulation of the system and trying to preserve whatever they can from the case, right? They have to work with what they can prove in a court of law, and they have to leave out what the defense could use against them. That's a very thin line to walk. So it's very difficult. So there's going to be a lot of manipulation and a lot of bending of the truth and a lot of leaving out of certain information, context to serve their greater purpose, which is to make sure that Richard Allen goes to prison because they know for a fact that somehow he participated. Now, if that has to be a gun in order for them to get what they need, it is what it is, right? They can't just sit on the sideline while the defense team is, making touchdowns. They're like, "Go ahead, there you go." No, they got to play defense. So you got to pull that thin line all the way to one polar extreme and then hope that the defense team doesn't completely pull it back to their extreme. Hopefully it meets somewhere in the middle, just a little bit leaning over towards your side if you're the prosecutor. And then that's what happens. That's how you hook that jury. Any known connection between BH and Richard Allen, BH and the clients? Not that I know of. If others were involved and threatened Richard Allen maybe about harming his family, I can see why Richard Allen would not mention any other actors in the crime. Yeah, if somehow you've participated and you're going to do, a lot of time in prison, what's the point? What's the point of putting your family at risk, right? I participated in the murder. I'm guilty of murder. Even if they give him like a lesser charge, he's still going to do 15, 20 years in prison. That's a life sentence for him, in my opinion, potentially. All right. So big shout out to Pipers, Jay Burns, Fig. Who else we got in here? Sees Through. Neil O'Shea. Amy Lee, Eli. What up, everybody? And everybody else, good to see you. Welcome in. So according to ChatGPT, who is this Brad Holder guy? I never heard of that person before. Trying to learn about the Delphi case. Brad Holder. I keep going through Sleuth Intuition's comment section, and these people, they're hounding him about this Brad Holder guy. Why is he ignoring Brad Holder? It's a conspiracy. Brad Holder is a man from the Delphi area whose son was dating one of the victims, Abby Williams, at the time of the murders. Holder is known for having posted Odinist, a Norse pagan belief system, imagery, and runes on social media after the murders and before, right? Some of these posts allegedly resembled aspects of the crime scene that were not publicly released at the time, which fueled speculation among some observers, like the Bobby Boucher, 2 victims kind of underneath the falling tree near a campsite. From 2014. Mentioned in legal filings. His name surfaced in court documents tied to Richard Allen's appeal. Allen is the man convicted of killing Abby and Libby. Allen's defense included exhibits of social media posts by Holder, suggesting parallels between Holder's imagery and alleged ritualistic elements of the crime scene. Was it Brad Holder or Westfall that was consulted by ISP as an expert of Odinism? It was Brad Holder. And I found that very strange. So I don't know if maybe they were interviewing him as a potential suspect and just kind of masquerading around as if it was just some type of consulting. Allen's attorneys have tried to argue that evidence pointing to other potential suspects or theories like the Odinism angle involving Holder was strongly excluded from trial. However, judges and prosecutors have labeled such odinism explanations as speculative and not supported by admissible evidence. And it's true. Like, how are you going to say this guy had anything to do with it? And the judge is going to be like, oh, really? Does he have an alibi? Yeah, he has a pretty good alibi. Okay, well, how do you know he had something to do with it? Oh, well, his son was dating one of the victims. Okay. And then when we confronted him the following day, he texted his father, she's missing. Come on, judge. Come on now. It's obvious what's going on here. Well, where was he? Well, apparently he was at school. Okay, so let's see. What's his alibi? Well, he was clocked in at work all day from 5 a.m. to just before 3 p.m. Okay. Like, how does that work? Now, if you were trying to look at Patrick Westfall, his only alibi is his son. For all we know, maybe Patrick Westfall's protecting his son, right? Maybe it was a mean teen situation, but there's no evidence for that. But for whatever reason, it's Brad Holder. I think Brad Holder is the guy because he kind of looks like the bridge guy, right? He's got like no neck and big, broad shoulders. Let's see, Fig. He also said in a clip. Okay, so we can start that right now. So why is he suspicious, right? All of you in the chat, let me know why you think he might be suspicious or why we should even be wasting our time trying to break this alibi. He also said in a clip somewhere, Brad Holder, that he combines runes, specifically a binding rune, which could explain why the marking was not a normal rune. Well, first of all, Fig, you have to buy into the idea that those are runes, right? Those are runes at the crime scene. I don't agree with that. I haven't seen anybody that's able to prove it, right? One of them looks like a rune. Not really. A bunch of sticks crossed. That would be the easiest one to identify. That could be anything. But yes, he does this thing, right? With 213. He also does do bind runes and he combines them and he uses 3. And I do agree that if that is a rune on the tree and then there's 2 on placed over the top of the victims, it's very similar to what he's saying there. I definitely agree with that. Aw, snap, rescue all the dogs coming through. Dang, money bags. Dang, that was very generous. 2026, we're coming in hot. I'll tell you that right now. Redfoot is in the building. What up? Good to see you. And that's only if the state's timeline that murders happen then and there holds water. You'd have to kind of find a reason why why doesn't it? Fishy, what up? Do you think it's weird that his shift ended? They had set shifts. Well, I don't think so. I think that was the end of his shift. Are you getting him confused with Brad Weber? Because we're going to go through the testimony of his manager and he clocks in and clocks out when he was supposed to. Boston, what up? Thank you, Rescue. That was very generous. The video's taunting about the murders. Yeah, definitely very suspicious. The Bigfoot comments. All right, let's take a look at some of that stuff here. Okay, February 13th. So this is the day of the murders at 1:41 p.m. Right. And that doesn't make any sense to me. So I don't know if you can go off of this right here. This might be in relation to the person who took the screenshot. His son dating Abby and changing if he's met her and how many times. Yeah, I agree with that. What's up, Frank? I do not think they are runes. Either do I. I don't think they're runes. But once you allow yourself to believe that, or once they gaslight that, everything after that is very suspicious, right? Anything that has to do with runes is interesting. Oh man, wait, this guy with runes, and there's runes at the crime scene, dated one of the victims? No way. I don't believe in coincidences. Not this many. Right? It's just really, it's a flaw in the investigative technique. He's not really suspicious. He's an asshole. There you go. He could just be kind of like a weird guy, doesn't have a lot of empathy. Might even be playing into it. Like, oh man, these guys think they think I'm the suspect. I'm getting all this attention online. I'll kind of be a jerk about it. What about it? Let's see. What'd you say? Changing light bulbs. He's not really suspicious. Facebook post with the dead girls, not the stick one, but one talking about changing light bulbs. Yeah, I don't know which one that is. Also, he had this one, remember? February 13, 2017. Has another cat licking the neck of a cat. Just let it happen. Oh man, this is some hard evidence. This was from the following day. Okay, here's my words of inspiration for today. Today is Tears Day. I also drew the rune Tiwaz and Galaxy runes. All this past weekend and the beginning of this week, I've been drawing runes. Runes that have to do with giving up the baggage in my life or cutting away the old. What I believe the gods are trying to tell me is sometimes in our lives, we have to make sacrifices. And it hurts. But like the gods made sacrifices to become who they were, so must we. Like a butterfly has to shed his cocoon to become that butterfly, so must we soldier through our hardships to become better. Right? So everything comes through the context that the crime scene is covered in runes, specifically 3, one on the tree and one on the top of each victim. So once you've subscribed to that thinking, your feet are in the mud here. Your feet are in the Odinism mud, and you will not go anywhere because you're stuck. You've already set the premise. Now, when you read this, it's going to be in that context. So in your mind, those are runes, and he must be responding to his son's grief, right? I killed your girlfriend, son. Sometimes we need to make sacrifices. I know it hurts. Right. So once you subscribe to the idea that what's happening at the crime scene is Norse paganism, all of this stuff just kind of seems more believable or kind of ties into that. But it also these are the reasons that he's very suspicious. All right. Holman testified that employee records show Holder, who worked at a landfill about a half hour away from Delphi, clocked out at 2:45 p.m. He then checked in using a key fob at a gym in Logansport at 4:08. But this is what I want to focus on first. So we kind of got an idea who Brad Holder is, a little bit from ChatGPT. This is Susan Case. This was his boss at the time. And we could probably get rid of a lot of these. Okay, Susan Case testifying about their clock in and clocking out procedure and if it could be faked or not. So we know why he is suspicious, right? He just is. Here, I'll show you some more stuff. Right. So if you buy into that theory, because the only thing that ties anybody with that has anything to deal with paganism is it. You first of all, you have to agree that those sticks are runes. You have to say in your mind that's what they are. The blood on the tree, that's a rune. So we have 3 runes here. Who could have possibly have done it? Right? Well, you got this guy over here and this group of people who are connected to the victims who are leaving runes and talking about runes and practicing paganism. So it's obviously them, right? Jay Burns says saying those are definitely runes is like saying a cloud looks like Jesus, pareidolia, in my opinion. There's not enough there to convince me. Yeah, like they could be runes. And then at the same time, they could be runes that were left by Richard Allen. Right? We don't know who left the runes. So we don't know if they are runes, and we don't know who left the runes. And even if they are runes, you can't prove that these guys left them, right? So how do we reconcile that? I'm telling you, his cadence in that I did not kill those girls clip from that Hulu doc was cartoony level acting. Yeah, but what is that? Are you going to take that to a judge? Like, why do you think Brad Holder is suspicious? Fig. I did not kill. He said he did not kill those girls, and the clip from the Hulu doc was cartoony level acting. Not going to be able to, it makes him look suspicious, but it's definitely not going to break an alibi. And that's that's step number 1. What? Saying that the perpetrator has Nordic beliefs. And you have to be careful, Fishy. You have to be careful what you're repeating. Like if you're repeating things from Richard Allen's appeal that's coming from his defense team, it's going to be worded that way, like a salesman pitch. Or if it comes from the Frank's memo or something like that, right? Doesn't make it fact, especially if it's coming from the defense side. But that's even true from the prosecution side. But that doesn't mean he killed them, just that he's a freak. Yeah, he's a little bit weird. Rain Dancer, it's good to see you. What's up? I think you can still check in to any place on Facebook without having to be present at whichever location. At least you used to be able to. I know this from experience. Yeah, and also I'm pretty sure that it wasn't Brad Holder that took his own. Wait, is that how it works? It kind of tells you when it was posted. But if I'm sitting in Arizona, right, and I go and let's say Brad Holder's my friend, and he posts something to Facebook, it's not going to say 6 his time, right? It'll say 6 my time. Posted at 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, but on his end, it will be a couple hours difference. So I'm not sure how that works. Oh, the one about the gym? Yeah, we're still kind of talking about that. You asked what makes him suspicious? Yeah. Of course. And I'm just responding. Jeez. Yes, that pic of the cats was really suspicious to me. Very suspicious, Pipers. Kiara, Cariel, Kiani, starting year 10 without answers. Justice for Galen. FBI steady working on the case. If you guys have any information, no tip is too small. Anything you think is off, anything you can remember about that day. I know a lot of you are from that area. I still remember the day posted that Facebook post putting on the cap and saying, "Do you think I look like the killer now?" He's a dick. Remember, he said, "I think Bigfoot did it. Maybe Bigfoot did it." He's just very insensitive. But that's what a killer would do. But my point is, it doesn't matter what makes him look suspicious, right? He has an alibi. Right? Oh my God, look at this. More runes. Well, first of all, the sticks at the crime scene may not be runes, and I don't believe that they are. But look, 3 of them. Oh my gosh, just like the crime scene. 2 on the victims and 1 on the tree. It's a bind rune signature. Darkside, what up? Yeah, once he knew people were actually looking at him as a suspect, he was just playing into it to piss people off. Yeah, he seems to have that personality. Good to see you, Darkside. Great point. Free me. Seems like Holder went out of his way to make it look like him as a diversion. Maybe a CI playing his part and something else going on. Yeah, it could be. Like, just because you said something's there doesn't mean you've quite put your finger on it. You know what I mean? Doesn't mean you're completely wrong. It just means you're looking at things from the wrong perspective. You know, you don't have the understanding. So you got to change your perspective. Lynn, what's going on? All right. Go ahead and scratch that from the record. Also, him going to West Falls many weekends. Yeah, but if they didn't have anything to do with the crime, what does it matter if he's at West Falls? Plus, he has an alibi. I don't know. The Emily Pike case circles in my mind. Yeah, I've hit a dead end on that case. There was some really strange comments left the other day about some people thinking that a cop might be involved. So that kind of threw me off, Rain Dancer. The prosecutor would contest it. Also, official court documents are a decent place to get info from. I agree. It's a good place to start. 100% it is not all true, but it's the best I got. Laugh out loud. Don't jeez me, mister. All right, I won't. I resisted. That's what she said. Dark side. Sorry, that was inappropriate. But they have his voice, right? Like a list. Oh my gosh, is that blood? He's a blood-sucking vampire. Brad Holder is a vampire. Little Smashing Pumpkins. And that's not him, by the way. Oh, but here we go. This is what I was talking about, right? He does this math. He writes down these runes that he has a numerical value attached to each rune. So you have an alphabet, and then you have the numbers that are assigned to each rune. And then he comes up with like this code, 41817. So kind of look, if those are runes, it's very similar to what we have at the crime scene, right? 21317. Like a bind rune. It's so suspicious. Like, I mean, right? It makes sense. He's the killer. First of all, you don't know if he is the killer, which we don't know because he has an alibi, no nexus to the crime scene. Doesn't mean that he didn't do it with Rick Allen. Hey, Boston. People in the courtroom said it sounded like Richard Allen. Yeah, that's just not how it works, Len. You know, brainstorm, green needle. Honestly, I kind of did this, I don't know, kind of an experiment. The experiment was sparked by people accusing Anthony Greeno of being the bridge guy. So I took a clip of Anthony Greeno, I took a clip of Kagan Klein, and I took a clip of Ron Logan, and I think there was somebody else too. I think it was like one of the older Sandifer guys that did an interview early on. And I played them each, and then I played the Down the Hill bridge guy audio. And each time when I was looking for each voice, I heard it. I was like, man, that sounds like him. Anthony Greeno, play it. Oh, man. Oh, shit, that sounds just like him. Keegan Klein, oh my God, sounds just like him. Richard Allen, oh man, that's a perfect match. Wait a minute, Ron Logan's a perfect match. It's because your mind plays tricks on you. It's like the whole brainstorm green needle thing. It's playing the exact same thing, right? Brainstorm. But if you're thinking green needle, it's going to say green needle. It's fucking weird. But that just shows you how your mind can play tricks on you. The voice is not enough to identify. The most they should say is his voice is not inconsistent with. Yeah. I mean, that's tough. To me, it's I don't know. I wouldn't even allow it in, but shit. Totally forgot about Greeno's existence. Yeah, there's a lot of people that think he's like the killer or he was helped Richard Allen. It's really weird. Greenwood. Gina Bina. Is that a cut or open wound on his right hand there? Kind of looks like a scratch. Or it's the blood dripping from his horn. Hail Thor. But it looks like a scratch. It's a rune. It's a bind rune. No, I don't think so. I think it's somebody who met her in Mesa. Well, she ran away from Mesa, yeah. But what's interesting is I found out her dad lives in Mesa. I know he's in jail now and he's filing a lawsuit. But at the time, I believe he was out. And when she ran away the first time, she actually ran away a couple times. She was found near the canal. We got the body cam footage of that. And then she was found at a park that was right around the corner from her dad's apartment. So I don't know. I think it could be connected to the dad somehow, like maybe a friend or somebody that knew that maybe a neighbor of the dad, she comes over there knocking on the door and maybe they said, oh, well, he's in jail or he's not home. Well, like, what's wrong? So I don't know. That's my leading theory is that she went looking for her dad and somebody offered her help, like, I'll help you. I'm a friend of your dad. What do you need? So that's kind of my leading theory. But yeah, definitely I think in Mesa. I don't think she's just going to walk and walk and walk, It's a long distance. For her to walk from where she went missing and just make it to Apache Junction, you're walking probably for a day and a half. Southern Blue Angel, for Kathy to say to Richard, you told me you didn't go out on the bridge. She had to recognize that was him. I mean, look at all this suspicious stuff. Right? This kind of looks like a crime scene. If you buy into bind runes, this right here almost is a complete representation of the crime scene. Both victims and then the tree that is nearby, right, would represent this bind rune that is represented by the numerical value. I don't know how you want to say that, but he kind of has it written out. It almost looks like a strange date, 4/18/17 to 13/17, right? That maybe that's why his alibi is so elaborate, right? It would take a lot of pre-planning for him to actually establish an alibi if he had anything to do with this. Is that far-fetched? I believe so, but if he's kind of has this magical quote unquote thinking, it looks like the crime scene, right? Let's play devil's advocate and say those are bind runes. One of his books, something he posted on Valentine's Day. I hear you're supposed to send people hearts and kittens on Valentine's Day. So suspicious. We already saw that. One of his paintings, like, oh my gosh. And then look right here. A symbol that looks like a red F, very similar to what people believe Libby's tree has on it, right? They don't believe it's a handprint, they believe it's a rune. You have two runes, one on each victim, and then something very similar, according to them, to this found on Brad Holder's 2018 painting. Fucking suspicious. And a bind rune on her chest? Hell yeah. I don't know what that means. Sounds like a tattoo. Let's see. I need to go back down here. There we go. Back on track. For Kathy. Okay, we're over here. In my opinion, Kathy could have been mixed up. I'd like to see that conversation. Yeah, and that's true, right? If you stop looking at Rick like he's the guy and stop adding all these weird things, right? Like everybody's adding all these weird things about Brad Holder, right? Trying to convince themselves. Same thing goes for Richard Allen. Like, you told me you didn't go out on the bridge, which to me is very incriminating. But honestly, it could just be like, well, you didn't, I forgot. Maybe she forgot. And then he gets frustrated, like, well, well, I did tell you that. He could have just been frustrated, like, well, what am I supposed to have an argument with you right now, like in the police station, about the fact that I did tell you that I went on the bridge, and for whatever reason, you forgot, and now you're like, oh, I don't know why I went. You never told me you were on the bridge. So you might just be freaking out about it, like, oh, whatever. Like, I don't have any energy to argue with you about it, but I told you I went on the bridge. So instead of him arguing with her, it kind of looks like feels like he's looking guilty now, right? But he could just be frustrated with her. Like, hey, I'm dealing with these assholes. I don't have time to argue with you about what I told you that day because I know I told you. She could have just forgot. Is that what I think? Hell no. I think he had different stories for all these people, right? I mean, as Kathy, I would definitely think it wasn't my husband, seeing as he came and reported to the cops, says he has blue eyes, and they said he didn't have blue eyes. Yeah, not to mention he was asleep when I got home. A lot of people don't understand, and I'm not saying I do, but I think I've looked into it a little bit more, like trying to understand like a killer's mind. You have to really think outside the box. And I think Tom Webster hit it on the head when he was on the show the other day. He said killing's dumb. And I mean, it's never been more clear, right? Killing is dumb. So there is no rationale. So you have to be anti-rational. if you're logical, you got to do the opposite because killing is dumb. There's no good reason for it in most cases, right? Was a threat to her for a long time. I mean, that's just hearsay, speculation. Okay, now this is some of the more interesting things. This was like 2016, I believe. So here you have Brad Holder, this extremely suspicious, insensitive guy towards the Delphi case, whose son was actually secretly dating one of the victims. And when he was questioned the following day, he texted his father, apparently, and said, "She is missing." Right? Who is she? Like the Elohim. They. Well, who is they? Right? But then you'd have to ask yourself this question. If Brad Holder killed his son's girlfriend, why the hell would he even tell him? Why would he have any idea that his father would know automatically who he's talking about? Right? She's missing. He has a mom. What do you mean she like is he going to assume that it's his mother? So a lot of weird shit like that. Yeah, very interesting. Oh, the same way he didn't want her to go on the search. Well, yeah, I mean, to me that makes sense. Honestly, I wouldn't want my wife to go on the search at night, but I definitely would. Like I would tell her, you can take me out there and you can kind of drive around, but I don't want you out here in the dark. Like I'll go out there. The better question is why didn't he go out on the search? But maybe he was just worried, right? The cops they canceled the search. So maybe the same reason he didn't want her to go on the search is the same reason that they canceled the search to begin with. That's not what makes him guilty. What makes him guilty is that he was there at the time of the murders. He has absolutely no alibi. And they found a bullet between two dead girls, Abby and Libby, that they can prove belonged and was cycled through his gun. That's why he's guilty. No other reason. I don't care what Kathy said. I don't care what went on in the interview. If you can debunk that his bullet matches, that bullet at the crime scene matches his gun, Richard Allen's a free man. As a defense attorney, that's all you had to do. All you had to do as a defense attorney was debunk the bullet. The only physical evidence that exists in the case. And that's why Jerry Holman was so rough on Rick Allen, because he knows he's involved in some way. And that's just a fact. So Brad Holder, who likes to play with sticks, who has a rock solid alibi, unless we can break it here today, really has zero connection. There were sticks at the crime scene, and he's obviously obsessed with them. Very strange. I mean, how do we know, this little ritual that they had out here in the woods? How do we know all these same people weren't the ones killing Abby and Libby with Rick Allen right there with them? Right? The green bandana found at the crime scene, not related. Oh my God. Vinlanders wear green. It's got to be them. Is it interesting? Is it suspicious? Yes. Is it proof? No. Like, what the hell is this? This looks just like the crime scene, honestly. This right here looks more like the sticks at the crime scene than anything. So these are exact like um, drawings over the top of the actual sticks that were at the crime scene. Right? Kind of looks like whatever's going on here. Yeah, we can watch that interview at the end if you want. Becky threw Holder under the bus, making that statement about him being into Odinism. No, actually, what happened, because I was there. I was around this case when this was all going on. It was online sleuths who were obsessed with Brad Holder and sending Becky information, right? Because Anna went out and did an interview saying that Abby didn't have a boyfriend. And the entire internet started to buzz over that. Like, oh my God, they don't know anything. Like, we've been depending on all these people to try to get information about this horrible case out in Delphi. We've been leaning on the family, every word that they say. They don't know anything. Wait till we tell Anna that Abby did have a boyfriend. Not only did he have a boyfriend, look at the creepy dad and what he's been doing on Facebook. So if you've been spending the last 6 years looking at Brad Holder and kind of being suspicious about him, and then all of a sudden you find out that the crime scene has these sticks, it's gonna confirm everything that you've already been working towards. It's hard to let that go, right? It's hard to let go that you were right. I was right. I knew it. Guess you interpreted it as my hubby is a bit misbalanced today. Possibly. Fretless mayhem. Alan did it. I'm sorry. Evidence of guilt is overwhelming. If he did it, how did he do it? And what did he do it with? Anytime you find out something about somebody, you look back and see it as sinister. Yeah, that's true. Hindsight is 2020. Truth. I don't know about overwhelming. Yeah, it's a good question. But Jay Burns was saying he could have posted that. Like, let's say his shift was ending and he's like, I'm going here to the gym. I know that there's some people, like, for whatever reason, they have to say it. Like, if there's something, a goal that they want to accomplish, if they make it public, it's like now they're held to that. Right. So maybe he was like thinking all day, I need to go to the gym. But towards the end of his shift, which is, I think around 2:45, he's like, well, I better, if I post it to Facebook, now I got to go. If I don't go, it's a lie. And then I also know some people who say things like, hey, I'm going to do this. And just because they say it, for whatever reason, they put all this strange pressure on themselves when all they have to say is, you know what? I changed my mind. But the fact that they vocalized it and said it out loud, now there's like this weird pressure to actually do it. But maybe you said it in haste. But you guys hang tight. I'm going to be right back. It'll be like 2 minutes. Damn dog keeps jumping up on the fence. Was that a green bandana? Absolutely, Redfoot. Green bandana. Or as some refer to it as a head scarf. A green head scarf. Wasn't there a green headscarf found in the water near the crime scene that was omitted? No, I really appreciate a session about killers who dismembered their victims. Yeah, it's definitely a diabolical thing. But people do it for different reasons. I think Abby and Libby's killer is in jail. I don't need any session on this case anymore. Alrighty. Doing great, Fishy. Doing wonderful. Thanks for asking. My cousin Vinny. Tell me when you shot the clerk. I shot the clerk? Yes. When did you shoot him? I shot the clerk. In court, they're like, yeah, he confessed. Here, I'll read the transcript. I told him, why'd you shoot the clerk? He said, I shot the clerk. I shot him. I shot the clerk. Badass, what up? I threw down some sticks once and it revealed the winning Powerball numbers. Well, shit. There you go. All you have to do is find the numeric value or the representation of these runes, and maybe you got it. Lottery tickets right there. That one is like the Odin, the crow paw, or whatever that is, the raven paw. I don't see anything in the email that I just got. So if you want to resend it. Oh, there it is. Okay. That's probably the one. Yeah, that is interesting. Evening, sir. Good evening. Fretless says, I mean, mistaken identity with Alan clone who arrives unseen at the trails by parachute, I guess, since Alan's car matches the video. Yeah, it does. But he left. Okay, so this is what we know, right? We know a little bit about who Brad Holder is. And we can all agree that he's suspicious as hell, right? He makes a great person of interest. Absolutely. I'm not denying that. Probably even more so than Rick Allen on paper. But what's the problem? Right? He has an alibi. What is an alibi? An alibi is proof that you were somewhere else while the crime was happening. So it couldn't have been you, right? No need to pursue these people and waste all your energy when they have an alibi. So how do we know he has an alibi? Well, I'm going to close some of these down. Because Susan Case, his boss, testified to it in trial. So the question from attorneys, tell me the shifts. Tell me about the shifts. She says, now the shifts are 5 a.m. to 1:30. And the second shift is from 7 to 3. 7 p.m. a.m. They're not actually two different shifts, I mean. Some of them just come in 2 hours later or an hour and a half later than the other. There's a group of 5 that come in, and then a group of 4 and a group of 4. So I don't know if this is what you were talking about, Fishy, the 130. And let me pull it back up. So it says here he gets out at 1:30. That would put him at the gym at 1:41. Which kind of lines up, right? But still, I think that would make it almost impossible. I guess he could check in right now, right? Go in, clock in. But we know exactly when he clocked in. We know when he clocked in at Anytime Fitness, and it wasn't anywhere around that time. So we have proof of that. Alrighty. And the second shift is from 7 to 3, 7 p.m. a.m. They're not actually two different shifts, yada, yada. They're assigned a credit, a Chronos card, right? Chronos, Father Time, Saturn. And the Chronos card has a number on it. So you know that when they put you into the system, they have to have your Chronos number. And that's how they know that it's your card. Are there any cameras inside the break room or the time cards? No. Right? No, there isn't. So if Brad Holder's been planning this murder for some time, right? As above, so below, he's trying to get his victims to mix with a date that he has in mind. He needs them to cross paths to meet at a certain point in time. He needs his 2 victims that he plans to sacrifice, at 2:30 on 2:13, and they need to be 2 13-year-olds. Because that's his bind rune. Right? He needs all 3 of them, and then they kind of make an equation. So he would need an elaborate plan to come up with an alibi. He would actually need somebody who works there, like this woman herself, right? Susan Case, his boss. She would have to be in on it. Or somebody would have to come in, clock in, and almost even appear to be him, work his machinery, and then clock out. And then he would have to have somebody do the same thing at the gym. All right. And then do most people carry this credit card, Kronos card, in their wallet and bring it back and forth? Or is it, no, we have a rack right next to the clock and everybody just puts their card in there? So if Brad was looking to create a fake alibi, I mean, the system they have in place is definitely easily exploited from what I'm hearing. But the question is, this is a lot of pre-planning. Why would he be doing that? Why would he be pre-planning? And why would they pin it on Rick Allen? And why doesn't he have an alibi if the crimes are being pinned on him? Right? Is his family, oh my gosh, they're being threatened by the Odinist guards? Maybe, right? Apparently, Brad Holder had something to do with this and he faked his alibi. Even if it is extremely elaborate. Alan a freak. He snapped and finally acted out of fantasy. I agree with Sleuth. I think somebody high up was discovered during the investigation of Richard Allen KK. Yeah, I think so. For whatever reason, they don't want Keegan Klein to be looked at. and Nick didn't want any charges pressed based solely off of an official confession. I think the trial being televised would have helped. Maybe. It could have hurt too. The personal information was not made public. Actually, maybe not because they fumbled the investigation. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Trial being televised would have helped who? The public? That's not their job. The state's job is to prosecute, not provide. Well, the thing is that I agree. Every trial should be televised, right? It's a public procedure. The people who are running that courtroom are being paid by the public. These are public servants. They are absolutely here to serve us. But I think there should be stipulations. But that's the problem. People forget that they are servants to us, to the people. We forget that. They know that we forget that, and they take advantage of it. They know the control that they have over us, just like your politicians. Would have helped with the doubt of the public. I didn't say it was their job. Yeah, I think it would have helped with people accepting the fact that Rick was guilty. I think if they would have been able to see it with their own eyes, it would have just been clear as day. But because it wasn't televised, everybody's just kind of like confused. They have to use alternative sources. And a lot of the information that they put out as fact, it's really just it's kind of like fact, but it's through a lens, through a biased lens. People are presenting information as fact without letting you know that, hey, I've kind of run it through my bias machine and it came out a little ski wompy on the outside, on the back end there. Just a shadow of its former self, really. But you can trust me. If Rick Allen had an actual witness that could have cleared him that day, I'd say maybe he might be innocent. Yeah, it makes you wonder why his wife and his mom didn't testify. The only two people that really had a chance to sit down and talk with him that day did not testify. That could have been pivotal. Think about how important that is for Kathy to say, yeah, he was fine. I gave him a big hug. We talked about what we were going to do a little bit later in the day. We had plans. He went to his mom's. When I got home, he talked my ear off about what he talked about with his mom and how he was all tuckered out. Yeah, he seemed totally fine. And then the mom gets up on the stand. Yeah, he seemed great. It was really good. It was surprising to see him. He said he had a day off. And, it's always good when he drives all the way out here. I invited him to lunch. He said he really wasn't feeling too hot. And with the day off, he was going to go take a hike. Yeah, he seemed fine. But they didn't do that. You want to know why they didn't do that? Because he didn't look fine. He looked like shit. He was probably saying a bunch of weird shit. And they were going to be no help to him unless it was perjury. And perjury, if you guys know, is a crime. We're not going to perjure ourselves. We're not going to become criminals like you, Rick. We're better just to not go up there. We plead the fifth. Okay, let's continue on here. So no, we have a rack right next to the clock and everybody just puts their card in there. Well, that doesn't seem very safe. Back in 2017, how would you prevent somebody from clocking in for a coworker or clocking out for a coworker? That's a fucking good question. Were there any measures in place that would prevent that from happening? Other than everybody is in there at the same time, usually clocking in, and they would, I guess, I don't understand the full extent of that question. All right, so let's say you're all clocking in and you have a buddy of yours. He's dressed in your clothes. He's driving your vehicle, clocks in, knows how to run the machinery, shuffles through the deck of cards, finds your time card, boom, clocks in, runs the work, knows exactly what to do, knows how to communicate his job, gets it done, clocks out, and you're over here committing a murder. I mean, is that possible? Were there any measures in place that would prevent that from happening other than everybody is in there at the same time, usually clocking in? And also, that's chaos, right? Be easy to get lost in the shuffle, or just have your buddy kind of take your card, swipe it in. I would really like to know what his duties were that day. Like maybe he wasn't operating machinery, maybe he was on cleanup detail or something different. You know what I mean? Where somebody could just grab his card, right? The room clears. You're the last guy in the room, kind of lingering. Look around. There's no cameras. You just quickly grab his card, boom, clock in, set it down, and you're in. And then do the same thing on your way out. But why? You're telling me you've been pre-planning this murder for so long that you have this elaborate alibi setup that's going to enable you to get on that bridge at 2:13, kidnap two 13-year-olds, kill them at 2:30 on 2:13 so that you can sacrifice them using a bind rune? I mean, that shit is elaborate. He was at work. He screwed. I think he was on the couch. Yep, he was on the couch right at 5:30 asleep. Yep, sleeping out or drinking beer out on the front. Vicarious Vigilante, what up? Welcome in. Good to see you. Shout out to everybody else too, even you lurkers out there. Make sure you participate in the poll and hit the like button. Don't be a scrub. I thought he was sober until he slipped up, got wasted, and murderous. Scorpio, what up? Ski Wampy. Run it through the bias machine, it comes out all ski wampy on the other end. Just a shadow of its former self. It's alive. It's alive. Oh. If he's on psych meds, alcohol sure doesn't mix. No, psychotropic and alcohol doesn't mix. I don't think I would ever take psychotropic drugs. Ever. Webs of deceit untangled. Didn't he have a mental health breakdown right after the murders? No, it was actually closer to the new direction presser. So right after the new direction presser, interestingly enough, right, he puts a gun in his mouth. He has to go to a hospital. But I think he was actually hospitalized before that, according to Walmart employees. So I don't know. Something's up, you guys. Like right around, I hate to say it because I know it's not likely that there's any connections to Evansdale, but it was right around that time when the Evansdale girls, Lyric and Elizabeth, went missing, and he's working in South Chicago, which is only a 4 to 5 hour drive out there to Evansdale. And then they tear down the shack in 2013, and he quits his job with Walmart in 2013. And I think it was sometime around then he was hospitalized. So maybe we're seeing a pattern. But I wouldn't look too much into that. I don't think it's that likely. I'm just saying, it's not out of the realm of possibility. I did work at a job where a guy and a supervisor were clocking in for one another. Yeah, I've seen it happen before. I've seen it happen. I've even seen managers come in later on and just put in your time. I was thinking more like he worked the shift and then forgot to clock out and then just like text somebody, hey, can you clock me out? Yeah, that'd be interesting. Yeah, so it's possible, right? So we learned a little bit about who Brad Holder is. We learned what makes him suspicious. Um, but he has an alibi. But the more we look at it, it's really doesn't seem that hard to kind of fake this alibi. It seems possible. But then again, why? Why would he do it? You're telling me this guy is so set on committing a murder at a specific time, on a specific day, in a specific place, for a religion that he's barely like involved in? Is he just like some kind of psychopath? And if he gets involved in some kind of cult, or let's say he goes back to Christianity, then his crimes just kind of resemble that, the MO or the signatures just kind of resemble whatever journey he's on at that time. Maybe using the crime as a way, like a rite of passage, initiation into the new spiritual quest. Darkseid says it's definitely possible, I guess. Well, let's look at some other things here. So we've heard enough from Susan Case there. Let's look at the CAD report from that day. Here's a few clips. Let's see. Information on juvenile female was speaking to 2 juvenile males, Tyler, Blank, and Josh. I don't know who Blank is. F2 request to see if anyone has made contact with Abby's boyfriend. So as they're gathering information, they're kind of putting it out there. Well, we've heard about this boyfriend. Has anybody heard from that guy? Or his parents? One of fire units say Logan Holder advised that he has met them at the canal. All right, let's go take a look. I might have that up. If not, I'll pull it up. Okay. So Wabash and Erie Canal Park. Now, this is over near Patrick Westfall's home when he was living in Delphi. Like right around the corner, really. This is another Dave McCain hotspot. You know, if that means anything. So apparently, Abby has met him. I don't know if it was Abby and Libby, but have met him at Canal Park. And it was Canal Park that Patrick Westfall told us this is where the real argument happened, right? I think he even said that the canal was frozen. Hopefully, I'm not remembering that wrong. But he said him and Brad Holder got into a fight. Somehow they ended up out on the ice. And that was it. This is the only place that they would kind of go to do their rituals. So this is where Abby was meeting with Logan. So this is most likely where they took that famous photograph. Now, right around the corner, I believe, is Patrick Westfall's home. I think right up here somewhere. Well, was at the time. I don't. He doesn't live in Delphi anymore. So I think up here somewhere. So maybe Charles Street. Yeah, it might be North Charles Street. So I mean, you just walk across the street and you're at the Wabash and Erie Canal Park, which was rebuilt by the McCains, right? And it was an idea originally by their mother. She took an interest in the canal, wasn't being used. Back then, you would travel by canal, right? If you had a whole bunch of shit, a lot of people with you, a lot of gear you're trying to move, a lot of people wouldn't travel by train or car or buggy. They would take the canal in these little boats, and they can carry a lot of crap with them through the canal. So once people stopped doing that, they just kind of started falling to shit. And it was the mother of Dave and Dan who took it upon herself to create like a nonprofit, like a foundation. I don't think it would be that hard, and people do it all the time. Like, I'm almost there. Can you clock me in so you don't get in trouble for being late? But why would you not say something? After two girls get murdered, would you say something? Like, you think you would, once he became like a famous person of interest, whoever did do that on that day would come forward and say something. But maybe not. Just because they should or you think they will doesn't mean that that's what happened, right? Dark side. But when the police come asking, most would say, yeah, I covered for him. That's my opinion. Yeah, kind of like what happened with Ron Logan and his cousin with his fucking false alibi. So they're definitely seemingly all coming up with these fake alibis, but they can't all be involved, right? All right, so we have Canal Park, which is really very close to the CVS. And the CVS is extremely close to the Dairy Queen. So my question is, how did the girls get to Canal Park? Get dropped off at Dairy Queen and then just kind of walk over there? I don't know why that's loading like that. But yeah, you got Dairy Queen right here, and it's just a short walk to the Canal Park. All right, to see if anybody has made contact with Abby's boyfriend or parents, one of fire unit's Logan Holder advised that he has met them at the canal. And that's what they're talking about is Canal Park. Badass Lou like to go into the trails like in Iowa. Yeah, I mean, why not? He seems to like to travel. Killers travel, right? Oh, don't worry. And why would he like to travel? If he's some kind of a pervert, pedophile, CSAMmer, and really is buying these burner phones from the Kleins, the only way he's going to get away with it, like, oh man, I got to travel, babe. We need the extra money. We got this going on. We got to pay this. I'm going to pick up shifts or I'm going to have to work over here in South Chicago. Okay, well, while he's out there in South Chicago, he could be on his burner phone, on a laptop, sitting on the hotel Wi-Fi, fucking CSAMing it with Kagan Klein, right? Plotting another murder somewhere, maybe in Iowa. Is it likely? No, but I'm just saying you can't say 100% that people involved with Delphi had nothing to do with what happened in Lyric and Elizabeth, especially if you buy into the fact that Brad Holder somehow pre-planned this crazy scheme to create an alibi and kill these two girls at a very specific time. And then all this, and it's just strangely matches up exactly with what happened to Elizabeth and Lyric. Was there any symbols on trees out there? Maybe we'll never know. Jen Sofer as well. Had red hair. Jordan Sofer. All right, made contact with Cass in reference to Logan Holder. Got a text of blank as of 2015. Dad is Bradley Holder. Mother Shannon Holder. Cass County advised they sent officers to the residence of Logan Holder and the school and did not make contact with anyone. Advised they've made calls to texts of both parents they have in their system. AT&T sent a ping location. So that was like right at 9:55 p.m. if I'm reading military time correctly. 8 to 7 advised out checking bridge. And then interesting enough here at 10:36 p.m., somebody called in, advised she was traveling southbound on the Heartland around 1 p.m. She had went under the bridge and there were 4 kids, possibly all girls, running in the left southbound lane. They were all IHN sweatshirts. What is that? IHN sweatshirts. All in sweatshirts. I think the H doesn't belong. All in sweatshirts. They ran to the main street exit, turn, and one sat in the middle of the road. So that's kind of strange behavior. Sat in the middle of the road. The others pulled her up off of the ground and they started walking southbound. CP advised one looked like to be wearing a big coat. So who's CP? Caller? Okay, so at 1 p.m., Rick said he got there at 12. So these 4 girls are seen right here in this location. And remember, I told you we were going to go off on a little tangent. This is the beginning of said tangent. But for this tangent, we need to go all the way over here to Main Street near Freedom Bridge. Okay. So this is a little side journey. Somebody called in, advised that she was traveling southbound. Here, I'll read these over here while we look at the map. Let's do that. Okay. Traveling southbound. So she would be on this side of the highway, heading towards town. Coming under the bridge there. Southbound on the Heartland around 1 p.m. So Rick would have already been there for an hour, according to him, right? He said, I got there at 12, I thought. I left my mom's around 11:15. I just went home real quick, and I was already at the trails. So I'm thinking around 12 I was there. He said when he got on the trails, he ran into those girls, a group of girls, and basically described the girls that were leaving around 1:30. But what about these 4 girls? I think these are the 4 girls that people try to bring up. But according to a witness, they were seen at 1 p.m. Is it possible that they were leaving? They already left around 12:30ish, and this is how far they'd gotten just to this intersection? So she says she's driving down the Hoosier Heart. Here, let's pull this up in Street View. So according to the witness, she just traveled under that bridge. And there's 4 girls right here. One is sitting on the ground. Who are those 4 girls? Mostly wearing hoodies, and then one wearing a large coat. What kind of large coat? Like the bridge guy? What the hell's going on here? So nobody saw those girls on the trail. They saw them over here. But couldn't they have just kind of come through here? Or even just kind of crossed the bridge and walked down this way? So they crossed the bridge. So did they cross the bridge and then just come like all the way around? Why would they come back over here? I don't understand that. And why do they have one girl sitting down? I don't know. It just seems dramatic. All right, let's catch up on the chat here. Fishy. I just know this case inside and out. Brad Holder ice capades. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely elaborate. Ice skating team. Jeez. The Icelandic Odins. Maybe hooded. Okay. So that's just interesting, right? They get a call around 10 p.m. at night. Says she's driving under the bridge, and there were 4 kids, possibly all girls, running in the left southbound lane. They were all in sweatshirts. They ran to the main street exit, turn, and one sat in the middle of the road. The others pulled her up off the ground, and they started walking southbound. Advised one looked like to be wearing a big coat. What kind of big coat? Hmm. Okay, so we know he was here working out at any time, workout anytime in Logansport. Liberty landfill is way up here. I mean, it's just not possible. So he would have had to fake his alibi. And I think it's going to be hard to prove that. And it's even going to be harder to prove or explain why he would do that. You know, why would he even do that? And then how would he get away with it? So you're telling me he just committed this murder and somehow miraculously got away with it, and then he just lucked out and Rick Allen was framed? I don't know. It's pretty far fetched. But either way, guys, that is my time. We're going to hang out for another 5 minutes. Replay crew, let me know what you think. So we know who Brad Holder is according to Chat GPT. We definitely know why he's suspicious and why a lot of people think he's connected. But he has an alibi. But I think after looking at his alibi, I think it is possible, and it really wouldn't be that difficult to fake the alibi. But he had to have had help. Somebody helped him. Somebody had to physically punch him out, punch him in, or like what Fishy said, he could have snuck out of there early, committed the murders, and had somebody else just clock him out. There's no cameras in there. And you don't hold on to your time card. You know, most places they have a badge. You kind of clip your badge on, or you put your badge in your wallet or your purse, or put it behind your other badge, your ID or something, right? And you just take it and you swipe it, and the doors unlock. I find it really strange that they have all these time cards just kind of piled up in this room with no cameras. And they just feel like everything is secure. Like, no way, people are clocking in. I bet you if you were to go do a quick investigation over there at Liberty Landfill and interview people there, boots on the ground, without giving away their identity, or maybe even people that used to work there, and ask them, like, hey, were people, you know, falsely punching in and out or punching in for people when they weren't there? Like, did that kind of thing happen? Those are going to be the people that tell you yes, like it is possible. I did see it go on. I may or may not have, dabbled in that behavior from time to time. That's really the only way you're going to find these answers is like real journalism. Badass. No matter how far away Betsy Blair was from the bridge, she stated exactly where Alan was standing as he did himself. It's true. Redfoot, maybe the one that was sitting down was freaking out. Then one had to go get her, hypothetically. Yeah, what if she was freaking out about what they were getting ready to do? Right? The whole mean teen theory. Scorpio Sleuth. Why Richard Allen's sleazy lawyers don't use Kagan Klein's confession at all? Think about it. Why don't they want to? They never arrest Keegan Klein. They let him go free for how long? There's this weird connection between him, the Marathon gas station, the clerk that passed away, Rosie and Rosie's brother, who was a law enforcement agent tasked with collecting the Marathon gas station footage. And then it's destroyed. And then they don't even call him as a alternative suspect. What the fuck? This is crazy. Like, we're not going to go after Kagan Klein. We're going to go after the Odinism stuff. The only explanation is because Klein led back to their client. Or, like I told you guys from the beginning, if you believe this is a conspiracy, all good conspiracies, they're all in on it. Even Richard Allen. He has his reasons for shutting his mouth and just playing his role. Right? The judge, the prosecution, the defense, the investigative team, maybe even some of the family members of the victims. You just never know. You never know. All right, we're all caught up. So let me close down this poll. If you guys haven't voted, do it now. And if you're part of the replay crew, let me know what you think. So the question is BH. Suspicious as fuck, but solid alibi. Faked his alibi, and law enforcement framed Ricky. Just an eccentric guy. That's it. Easy target. Not sure. I will see what you say. So 29% wins with eccentric for sure. And we'll wait to see what Sleuth has to say about it. Well, that's all I have to say. We'll close down that poll. If you guys need me, shoot me an email at sleuthintuition@gmail.com. If you're part of the replay crew, you know exactly what to do. Drop a comment. We'll get back to you. If you guys can, hit that Cash App. It's greatly appreciated. All tips are very much welcome. Thank you so much. And if you can't, hit the Cash App. Hit the like button. Don't be a scrub. And on that note, guys, I'll catch you on the flip side. Peace.